What's going on, everybody? It's Game Unboxing Reviews here, and welcome back to another Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 news update. So recently, Game Informer released tons of new and exciting details on the game, and in this video, I'm of course going to be showcasing and talking about all of the new characters, their abilities, plus new gameplay and screenshots. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so first up we of course need to talk about Game Informer's awesome new June cover art, because on the left we can see some of the game's main antagonists, those of course being the Mad Titan himself, Thanos, as well as his Black Order, which consists of Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, Supergiant, Ebony Maw, and Cull Obsidian. While on the right we have a brand new look at 13 out of 30 of the playable characters that are included in the game's character roster, most of which we already knew about, such as Venom, Raccoon and Groot, Captain Marvel, Spider-Gwen, Storm, Star-Lord, Hulk, Miles Morales, Black Panther, and Deadpool, but there are also 3 newly confirmed characters, 2 of which are present on this cover, those of course being Wasp and Hawkeye, as well as Miss Marvel herself, Kamala Khan, who we can of course see on this awesome new piece of promotional art, alongside Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket, and Drax the Destroyer. Moving on, I'm now going to be showcasing and talking about everything new that we learned about some of the game's characters. So first up, let's start with Lockjaw. Now sadly, it has recently been confirmed that he is not playable, so Crystal still remains as the only known playable Inhuman in this game, but obviously Marvel Ultimate Alliance is all about playing with a team, so I wouldn't be surprised if Black Bolt, Medusa, and more are eventually revealed to be playable. Next up, we have this awesome new screenshot showcasing a boss battle with Venom and Electro as they go up against Wolverine, Miles Morales, and our very first in-game look at Nightcrawler. And while it's pretty obvious that he'll use his power of teleportation in some way in this game, we still don't actually know of any specifics regarding his playstyle. But we can of course see here that he is armed with 2 swords, which will likely play a big role during melee combat. Up next we have Wolverine. Now so far all we've really seen from this character is short clips of gameplay that showcase him attacking Sentinels with his adamantium claws. However, Game Informer have also now revealed that Logan's healing factor will be present in this game, which more than likely means that he'll have regenerative health. Now the only thing that has been revealed about Black Panther's playstyle is that he has a heavy attack where he uses his claws, but Game Informer have also said that they do plan to release more gameplay for each character during their monthly coverage on the game, so hopefully we'll see more from T'Challa later this month. So Venom is apparently going to be the only playable villain in this game, although he could also be seen as an anti-hero, so I guess it makes sense that he made the cut, and personally I'm very happy to see that he did. Now in terms of his powers and abilities, we only know of one ability that he has so far, and it's very cool because he can apparently turn into what is described as a killer whale that comes up from the bottom of the stage. So Brock probably relies heavily on the symbiote shapeshifting abilities in this game. Now one newly revealed character that we have yet to see any gameplay of is of course Wasp, but we do now know of 2 very cool abilities that this hero will have, and that is the ability to shrink but also make giant candy fall from the sky, which is said to be inspired by the shrinking shenanigans that are seen in Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp. So hopefully that means that Scott Lang or Hank Pym will also be in the game, because you got to complete that team. We also got our very first gameplay of Spider-Gwen, which showcases her web slinging through the Kree warship level, and her animations are definitely very reminiscent of the previous games, but of course we also saw her perform a very cool stomp attack by using 2 web lines to forcefully pull herself back down to the ground. Now as well as this, we also now know that Gwen can swing a giant wrecking ball of webbing at her enemies, and we also have all of the titles for her other abilities, such as the Catchy Attack Name, Legit Beatdown, Disappearing Act, and Swing Time, which I believe is the ability that she is performing in this brand new screenshot, although that's just my theory. Now Drax is a character that we haven't seen a single piece of gameplay from until now, because as you can of course see here in this awesome demonstration of what I think is his extreme attack, Drax can jump into the air, slam back down into the ground, and repeatedly slice away at the remaining Kree soldiers using his dual knives. Star-Lord is another Guardian that we haven't seen too much gameplay from, but one thing that was recently revealed is that he does actually do a lot of dancing while shooting, so if you're a fan of Chris Pratt's take on the character like I am, then you should have a lot of fun playing as Peter Quill in this game. Now while we did receive some great new gameplay of the Hulk, it didn't really reveal anything besides what we already knew, as we of course previously saw Hulk performing moves like the Thunderclap in some of the game's trailers. However, one new thing that has been revealed is that the game actually features an emote system, which is for those that might want to communicate with other players on their online team, but not have to use Nintendo voice chat. Now there are 4 options for emotes, and I believe this applies to every character. So for example, with the Hulk, one of his emotes actually has him shouting "Hulk approves." So for those of you that don't know, Rocket and Groot actually act as one character in this game, so you can't have just Rocket or Groot on your team. They will always be working in tandem, and we've already seen a lot of gameplay from these two, showcasing that Rocket focuses mainly on ranged attacks using the Quantum Igniter, while Groot performs a lot of melee attacks. But together with the power of what I think is their extreme attack, Groot can slap away at enemies with a whip from his vines, and Rocket can of course blast them, all while saying "We are Groot," as a nice little callback to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Scarlet Witch is another character that we're finally getting to see in action, and as you can of course see from this gameplay, Wanda can project multiple Psionic Energy blasts, allowing her to hit and push away her targets, and using her extreme attack, she hovers above her enemies before unleashing an immense wave of psionic force. She also has a powerful healing field that actually refills your team's health, which is sure to be a huge advantage to players that decide to add Wanda to their team. Now Daredevil can use his enhanced senses to identify weaknesses before attacking multiple targeted enemies with his billy clubs, which as you'd probably expect he uses a lot in this game, and they're pretty cool because as you can see from this new gameplay, Matt can attack normally with them for close quarters combat, but also with what I think is his extreme attack, he can actually put the clubs together and using the high tensile wire, start spinning them around, damaging any nearby enemies. So we'd seen a little bit of gameplay of Black Widow already, but Game Informer have also released so much more, which shows us that Natasha focuses primarily on shooting with her dual pistols and electrifying her enemies using the Electroshock Batons, but my personal favourite move has to be her extreme attack, where she throws grenades, then does a one-armed handstand that allows her to leap into the air, where she starts shooting at all nearby enemies, all while spinning and being upside down before ending with an electrifying ground pound attack. Next up we have Captain America, who despite having a very MCU inspired costume is said to be very comic book inspired in this game, but in terms of his moveset, I would say that it's a mix of both, because you've got this awesome move where Steve throws and then kicks his shield into a group of enemies, but then there's also the flashy defense and extreme attacks. We also now know that Steve does still have his shield throw move from the original game, and that it does still bounce off enemies and the environment, but you apparently can't control it anymore. Now unlike the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy that are in the game that feature more MCU inspired costume designs, Gamora is actually rocking her awesome classic space armor from the comics, and as you can of course see from this brand new gameplay, she can perform a lot of very cool and extremely quick sword attacks using the Godslayer. Now we've already seen a lot of footage from Captain Marvel. I mean, she practically got her own trailer back in February, but as you can see here, we have a lot more gameplay showing Carol in action, but also more specific details on what she can actually do in this game. So to get around, Carol can walk, run, and fly to stay out of ground danger, and in combat she has the Photon Punch, which rushes her forward in an aimed charge, setting her up for a cosmic burst. She could also use the blast off Spinning Uppercut or lash out with a sustained burst of Photon Energy using the Cosmic Beam attack, and after performing extreme attacks she glows bright in her binary form. Now with Iron Man essentially being the face of Marvel Studios, you'd think we would have seen more from him until now, but despite this, as you can of course see from this brand new gameplay, Tony looks like he's going to be a lot of fun to play as in this game. So going back to the emote system which we talked about earlier, Tony can apparently use this to make quips, and like Carol he can of course also walk, run, and fly. As for combat, he has a Unibeam and the Repulsor Array, which is apparently inspired by the iconic move from Iron Man 2, where Tony of course used the palladium-powered laser system to destroy the hammer drones. There's also the Thruster Charge ability to instantly get him right back into the action, and finally we have the Missile Barrage ability, which allows him to target and shoot at multiple nearby enemies. So as well as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, Miles Morales is also in this game, so if you want a team of the Spider-Verse's webbed warriors, you can absolutely do that. So to get around, Miles can walk, run, and web sling, and in combat he has the web shooter skill, which allows him to web up opponents with multiple sticky blasts. Then there's also the surprise strike that turns him invisible, allowing him to rush in and electricity zap an enemy. He also has the high voltage alliance ability, which unleashes a load of electrified webs, and finally there's the Venom Strike ability, which hits all nearby enemies with a sphere of shocking energy. Here we have an awesome new shot of Iron Man, Hulk, Miles Morales, and Hawkeye, and we now know of all of Clint's abilities, abilities in this game. So we have the Piercing Shot, which fires off powerful arrows in Clint's direction, the Scatter Shot, which shoots multiple detonating arrows as Barton backflips out of danger, Exploding Arrows, which involve multiple arrows raining down, inflicting fire damage, and finally we have the Shock Value ability, which from the sound of it essentially releases a ray of electricity. And last but most certainly not least, we have Kamala Khan herself, Miss Marvel, who, as you'd probably expect, can stretch and enlarge her body parts as she beats her enemies with oversized fists and feet, which you can of course see from these brand new screenshots and this very short new piece of gameplay footage. But to be more specific, Kamala can crush her enemies by using the Embiggen ability to enlarge her fists into massive wrecking balls. There's also the Sweet Combo attack, which is a flurry of punches and a finishing uppercut, plus the Superface kick, which performs a wild lunging kick with an oversized foot, and finally the Giant Foot Spinny Thing. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. Lots of extremely exciting new details there. Let me know in the comment section below which character are you most looking forward to playing as, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway guys, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and as always, if you'd like to stay up to date with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, then please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.